how often does a titan in one industry make a bold, almost unexpected leap into another fiercely competitive one?
No, that very often, really. It takes guts.
Exactly. We all know Nikon for its iconic still cameras, right? The
Yeah,
robust bodies, incredible optics. They've defined photography for generations.
for sure. Legendary stuff.
But what if we told you they're making a serious play for, well, Hollywood?
It's a fascinating pivot and definitely a statement of intent.
Absolutely. Today, we're diving deep into Nikon's strategic acquisition of RED, the revered cinema camera company.
Yeah, this isn't just another corporate merger on paper.
No, it feels like a move that could fundamentally reshape the tools filmmakers use every single day. We're going to explore the why, the how, and the what next of this intriguing partnership.
And for this deep dive, our insights come from a detailed analysis in Y.M.CINEMA magazine, but we've also cross-referenced that with Nikon's own latest investor relations materials and, interestingly, some newly published patents.
Right. And our mission is clear. Cut through the noise, give you a crisp, well-informed understanding of what this partnership truly means, for image quality, workflow, and the future of cinema tech itself. So let's unpack this.
Sounds good. Where do we start?
Well, let's talk Nikon's legacy. Long been a pillar of still photography, synonymous with optical fidelity, those robust bodies, a culture of consistency professionals trust.
Decades of trust, yeah. Rock solid.
But that legacy hasn't really extended into the cinema world, has it?
Not really, no. Not in a big way.
Oh.
For decades, that space has been, dominated. You got ARRI at the absolute prestige tier,
The gold standard.
pretty much. And then Sony and Canon holding significant ground across broadcast, documentary, high-end digital production. Nikon was, well, largely absent from that whole arena.
Okay, so the acquisition of RED signals this massive strategic shift then. Nikon immediately gains credibility, authority even, in a segment it just didn't have before.
Exactly. It's instant credibility. Ritchie's brings that deep cinema lineage, an established community of working cinematographers, people who actually use these things day in, day out.
And the tech too, right? The ecosystem.
Yeah, a proven system of codecs, red code raw, color science, modular workflows built for the chaos of film sets. It's basically a ready-made entry point into an incredibly specialized market.
Okay, so that's what RED brings. What about the other way around? What does Nikon bring to RED? This sounds like a powerful synergy on paper.
It really is. Nikon contributes its renowned optics, decades of glass expertise, its deep manufacturing discipline, making things consistently and at scale.
And supply chain maturity, presumably. Access to parts, global distribution.
Absolutely. A mature supply chain, plus access to a huge base of hybrid shooters, people using Nikon Z cameras who might be looking to step up into cinema work.
So it's a significant two-way street, each side bringing strengths to the other values. It feels like it creates a more robust entity than either could be alone.
Definitely. It's about building a credible alternative, to the established players, not just carving out some tiny niche.
That makes perfect sense. But okay, what about the cultural blend? This is always tricky, isn't it?
Oh yeah, huge factor.
Nikon is famously careful, process-driven. RED, historically at least, has been way more iterative, experimental, sometimes even a bit chaotic, maybe.
Maybe a little.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a core insight here. This merger is a delicate dance between Nikon's industrial discipline and RD's, let's call it, creative energy.
So what are the potential outcomes? Two distinct cultures meeting.
Well, there are two main paths, really. Either the Nikon way dampens RED's innovation, slows things down too much.
Which would be a shame.
It would. Or the flip side, it stabilizes RED's product cycles, makes things a bit more predictable, while still preserving what creators actually love about RD.
Like the bold sensor choices, fast updates, that direct dialogue with users?
Exactly. Success hinges entirely on harnessing that experimental DNA, not stifling it. And honestly, we're already seeing some early signs of this balance, maybe in firmware update pace, adapter support, that kind of thing.
Okay, this is where, for me, it gets really interesting. The long-term platform play. This vision of a continuum for creators. Can you walk us through what that actually looks like, practically speaking?
Sure. Imagine if, say, the ROD codec roadmap starts informing future Nikon mirrorless bodies. Not turning them into cinema cameras, but maybe adding features.
And Nikon optics evolving too, better cinema mechanics.
Right, so a creator could maybe use a Nikon Z camera for small doc or behind-the-scenes stuff. Then they could move seamlessly to a rated D Z mount body like a Komodo X or V-Raptor X for episodic work.
And carry over their lenses, their color preferences.
Exactly. That continuity, that shared ecosystem, dramatically reduces switching costs. It lets creators grow within a single system.
Which is a critical point. It's basically the playbook Sony and Canon used to build their cross-segment dominance, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Make it easy to stay within the family as your needs grow.
Okay, let's switch gears. Technology, specifically the Z mount. Why is mount geometry so much more than just a marketing detail for filmmakers? It seems technical, but...
Oh, it's fundamental. It drives optical design, adapter possibilities, even mechanical stability on set.
So the Nikon Z mount, large inner diameter, 55 millimeter, and that very short flange distance, 16 millimeter. What does that enable?
It allows for really generous rear element designs in lenses. Gives lens engineers much more freedom to control aberrations, those optical flaws that soften or distort the image.
Especially at the corners.
Especially in the corners, yeah. And maintain image quality across the whole frame, which is huge for large format capture.
And that short flange distance, how does that specific Z-mount geometry become a game changer for adaptability? You mentioned adapters.
It's hugely important. That short distance means you can adapt to many other mounts, like the industry standard PL mount, using simple mechanical adapters. No complex image-degrading optics needed.
Which is crucial for sets that already have big investments in PL lenses.
Absolutely. It preserves image quality, offers massive flexibility. You don't have to ditch your existing glass.
So we get robust, native Z lenses, resolving strongly, good contrast, great for large format post-production like stabilization. What about the camera lens communication? How does native Z mount on the V-Raptor X and Komodo X help there?
Well, with native Z, the camera talks fluently to the lens for aperture control, metadata transfer, even autofocus.
How does electronic aperture control feel different?
It can feel much smoother, more precise than traditional mechanical iris rings. The camera can command these tiny, consistent increments, very useful for subtle exposure adjustments during a shot.
And autofocus. I know it's still a creative choice in cinema, not the default, but having reliable subject tracking natively must make these cameras more versatile in certain shots, right?
Absolutely. Think about fast-moving subjects, gimbal shots, situations where pulling focus manually is just incredibly difficult.
It can save a shot.
It genuinely can. It's another tool in the toolkit. Not replacing a skilled focus puller, but definitely adding capability.
Okay, let's shift to sensors. Shutter behavior, dynamic range. RED's invested heavily in global shutter sensors. The benefits are pretty clear for cinema. Clean pans, no jello effect.
Right, no partial exposures from flashes or lightning either. And crucially, a much more stable plate for visual effects tracking. That's a big one.
So the insight isn't just no jello, it's a fundamentally more stable image foundation, especially for VFX.
Exactly.
But historically, global shutters did come with trade-offs, didn't they? Dynamic range, noise, how has that evolved?
You're right, they did. Used to be a significant compromise. But modern global shutter designs, like the ones in the latest REDs, have improved dramatically.
So the compromise is less visible now?
Much less visible, especially if you expose carefully, protect your highlights, and use a grading pipeline that handles the roll-off gently. The gap is really narrowed.
When we talk about practical dynamic range for filmmakers, it's not just about the spec sheet number, is it? What does it really mean on set and in the grade?
It's about preserving those soft transitions in the highlights, avoiding that harsh digital clipping. And on the other end, maintaining cohesive shadow structure, shadows that don't just crush into pure black, but hold subtle detail and texture.
That's the flexibility filmmakers need for grading.
That's exactly it. And when you pair that with Nikon optics, which tend to hold micro-contrast really well, giving images a sharper, more defined look, even at fine details, the overall rendering can feel, calm and flexible. Gives you immense room to shape the look.
That flexibility is key. What about frame rate and format versatility? High frame rates are pretty standard now, but still important.
Incredibly important. High frame rate 8K or 6K modes let you do slow motion that still holds up beautifully, even on huge screens, retains incredible detail.
And format options. Super 35 versus full frame.
Yeah, having both is a huge plus. You've got Super 35 capture on something like the Komodo X, great for affordable, lightweight lensing options. And then full frame on the V-Raptor X for that shallow depth of field, broader field of view.
And the Z-mount across both makes lens choices simpler.
Exactly. Keeps the lens conversation simple, even if you're switching sensor modes for different looks or scenes within the same project.
Let's talk workflow. Cinematographers always say this can make or break a production.
Absolutely critical.
Red Code RAW, it offers that known balance of compression, efficiency, and grading latitude. Lots of post houses, colorists, they have that muscle memory built around red files. That's a major asset for Nikon, right? The capture side feels familiar.
Huge asset. Saves a ton of friction in post-production. People know how to handle the files.
But how far could Nikon go in bringing pieces of that ready pipeline into its mirrorless cameras without, turning a Z9 into a V-Raptor?
It's about thoughtful touches, I think. Consistent color transforms, maybe, that echo the RAD look. External recording paths that preserve high bit depth. Robust timecode options, absolutely vital for syncing multiple cameras.
Genlock 2. For live stuff or complex multicam?
Yeah, Genlock solutions. And clean monitoring outputs with the right overlays, waveform, false color, focus peaking for the focus puller, or DIT.
So if Nikon adds those layers,
Then documentary teams, corporate crews, they could potentially carry a two-body kit, a Nikon Z camera and a RAD-Z mount camera, and have them speak basically the same language in the grading suite. That's powerful.
that brings us neatly to metadata. Seems boring, but it matters hugely in modern post, doesn't it? Lens data, focus distance, camera orientation.
Immensely. All that feeds into modern post-production. It accelerates mash moves for VFX. It helps with virtual production workflows, enables really precise effects work.
And the native mount makes gathering that data reliable.
Exactly. Full communication makes it feasible at scale. If Nikon publishes and supports a predictable metadata scheme that both teams can rely on, that builds loyalty. It just makes life easier downstream.
Okay, optics. The lens roadmap. Nikon's immediate advantage is its existing Nikkor Z catalog. Optically excellent, lightweight. But they weren't built as cinema lenses, right? What are the main limitations for a pro cinema set?
You hit the main ones. Focus throws are short, designed for autofocus or single operator use, not for a focus puller using marks. Markings are often sparse or non-existent. And lens breathing, that subtle zoom effect when you rack focus, can vary a lot between lenses.
Which is fine for stills, maybe okay for single operators, but on a controlled set with a first AC pulling focus precisely.
It's a significant compromise. Slows things down, makes repeatable moves harder. Consistency is key on set.
So what does Nikon do? Seems like two main paths. First, maybe enhance existing Z stills lenses, gear rings, consistent fronts via hoods, maybe mechanical aids for longer focus throws.
That's one path, yeah. Kind of an accessory-driven approach.
What's the more impactful long-term path, though? The one that really signals commitment.
That would be the second path. A proper, dedicated Z-mount cinema line. A family of primes, maybe some zooms, designed from the ground up with cinema mechanics.
Meaning controlled breathing, repeatable focus scales, standardized sizes, and fronts.
Exactly. Strong breathing control, long, smooth focus throws, clear markings, standardized gear positions, consistent T-stops, standardized fronts for matte boxes. If Nikon moves firmly in that direction, the whole Z Cinema story gains immediate credibility. The lens kit becomes truly set-ready.
That feels like the ultimate goal, doesn't it? A bridge approach could work too, maybe? Collaborating with a cinema lens maker to rehouse top Nikkor Z designs?
That's possible, yeah. A
Yeah.
faster route to market, perhaps? But ultimately, it's that consistency across the set, matching color, contrast, shared gear positions, reliable back focus that crews truly value, makes their jobs easier.
But who does Nikon actually need to persuade to get these cameras onto sets? It's not just about having good specs.
Absolutely not. Cameras don't sell themselves in this world. Rental houses are huge gatekeepers. Veteran crews, DPs, ACs, gaffers, they're the other gatekeepers.
If a rental manager sees demand, or thinks there will be demand,
They'll stock the cameras. If a first AC or a DIT has a good experience with the system, finds it reliable, easy to work with, they'll recommend it for the next job.
so Nikon has to do the unglamorous work.
Exactly. Seating kits with rental houses and key crews. Listening really carefully to feedback, iterating on the small details that crews notice every single day. Menu logic, how strong the mount feels, battery life and options, how cables are anchored. All that stuff matters.
It's not enough to build a better mousetrap. You've got to convince the mice and the cheese distributors it's worth switching. What about owner-operators? Their priorities might be different.
Right. Owner-operators often look for slightly different things. An image that lands clients, sure, but also a travel-friendly body, an affordable but capable lens kit, and maybe most importantly, pain-free post-production.
So a nimble Komodo XZ mount package could really appeal there. Feels like a serious step up from mirrorless.
Could definitely appeal to small studios, indie filmmakers, High-end corporate shooters, yeah.
And let's not forget broadcast and live events. There's this growing demand for tools that kind of straddle cinematic depth of field and traditional broadcast disciplines. Seems like an opportunity.
Absolutely. If RD's accessories for live control, remote operation, CCU integration, if those mature nicely within a broader Nikon ecosystem, there's a clear opportunity for Z-Cinema cameras on live stages, in multicam setups where the look really matters, blending that cinematic aesthetic with broadcast efficiency.
So bringing it all together, where does Nikon stand today in this incredibly competitive landscape? Who are the big players they're really up against?
Well, RAI is still ARI, the prestige choice for features, known for color, reliability. The LXA35 is the benchmark for many.
Then Sony.
Sony has that hybrid dominance, mirrorless up to Venice,
Mhm.
a very clear, powerful upgrade path. Huge market share. Canon has its coherent Cinema EOS line. Very strong in documentaries, commercials, owner-operator market, reliable, good color science.
Panasonic, Blackmagic.
Panasonic is a solid foothold in broadcast, some niche areas, L-Mount Alliance, and Blackmagic. Well, they just keep applying pressure from below with incredible price to performance, plus the whole integrated DaVinci Resolve pipeline.
That is a very crowded field. So against all that, what's Nikon's realistic near-term target? Are they seriously aiming for ARI's crown right out of the gate?
Probably not initially, no. That seems unlikely. Nikon's realistic near-term target, I think, is that broad middle of the market.
Meaning?
Commercials, streaming series, branded content, high-end corporate work, places where clients demand a polished cinematic image, capable crews are essential, but budgets also reward thoughtful efficiency.
And RD with Z-mount fits well there.
Potentially very well, yeah.
Yeah.
Provided Nikon delivers on the lenses, the accessories, the support, the whole ecosystem we've been talking about.
The Y.M.CINEMA article we mentioned laid out 3 plausible futures for Nikon Red. Optimistic, middle, pessimistic. Can we sketch those out briefly?
Sure. The optimistic case is basically Nikon and RED execute brilliantly. Z-Cinema gains real traction. They introduce those much-needed Z-mount cinema primes and zooms. Firmware aligns across bodies, making multicam easier. Rental houses adopt. Owner-operators upgrade. Nikon carves out a visible middle-market position, maybe even appears on some prestige projects.
Okay, sounds good. What's the middle case?
The middle case is decent, but not explosive. Z-Cinema finds a loyal base, maybe among existing Nikon users moving up or specific niches, but doesn't really break out into the mainstream. Nikon invests, but maybe the lens mechanics or accessory depth lags behind the competition. Workflows are okay, but not compellingly simpler. Momentum is modest. It influences future mirrorless cameras, sure, but cinema market share grows pretty slowly.
And the pessimistic case?
Pessimistic is, well, the integration kind of blunts Ready's agility. The Nikon processes slow things down. Product cadence suffers. The crucial lens story never fully materializes. Crews, being creatures of habit, stick to the familiar Aracene Canon systems. Nikon eventually decides cinema isn't worth the R&D spend, reallocates resources back to its core stills business, and Red remains relevant only to its existing, dedicated, but perhaps shrinking community.
Yeah, right. Now, what developments are maybe on Nikon's horizon? Things hinted at by patents or research?
We're seeing some interesting things. Potential moves to larger formats, new sensor readout strategies, stuff detailed in their large sensor cinema camera technology patents. There's research into improving autofocus reliability during dynamic moves, which is always a challenge.
Control schemes to keep focus stable, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And on the pipeline side, there's research exploring how Nikon could align capture and post more closely with Red D-style compressed RAW workflows and metadata. That would really help simplify using mixed Nikon Red camera sets.
Okay, so based on everything we've discussed, what does Nikon absolutely have to deliver next to make this partnership a real success? What are the must-dos?
Number one, for me, is finish the lens story. They need to introduce at least a minimal but complete Z-mount cinema set. You know, a core, wide, normal, and portrait prime, maybe a compact power zoom. Lenses that match in behavior, weight, have clear markings, controlled breathing, shared fronts. That changes the conversation overnight.
Okay, lenses first. What else?
Second, publish a clear workflow playbook. Provide solid guidance on color management, LUTs, transforms for common grading software, best practices for shooting mixed Nikon Red jobs, realistic storage requirements, known good settings for monitoring on set for DITs. Make it easy to adopt.
Reduce the guesswork. Third.
Third, invest seriously in accessories. Smart top plates, side plates with secure cabling solutions, nothing worse than snag cables, reliable power options, V-mount, gold mount adapters, maybe integrated battery solutions, quick release systems that play nice with gimbals and drones. It's all about reducing friction on set.
Makes sense. Number 4.
Fourth, keep talking to the community. Preserve that direct dialogue RED was known for. Listen to cinematographers. But add Nikon's global service stability and reach. Address bugs quickly. Publish clear roadmaps so people know what's coming. Build trust.
And finally,
Fifth, deepen the training and education. Short, practical videos. How to get the most out of global shutter. How to balance exposure. How to build effective two-body kits. How to set up recording for fast turnaround projects. Help users bridge that gap between the camera's potential and getting great results under pressure.
that is a demanding list. It really underscores the challenge, which brings up a key risk for me. Market saturation and just plain old inertia. Is there really demand for another deep ecosystem?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Productions have established lens libraries, cage systems, post templates. Crews have their habits, their muscle memory. Switching costs, time, money, retraining are very real.
So Nikon has to win on the overall experience, make it demonstrably better or easier.
Exactly. Not just on technical specs alone. They need to show that using their system makes the filming day smoother, the grading day calmer. The results have to convince people, not just marketing slogans.
There's also that risk of internal dilution, right? If cinema remains a relatively small part of Nikon's overall business.
Priorities could shift internally, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Resources could get pulled back to stills or other areas. That's why a clear, consistent product cadence and a visible, credible lens roadmap are such crucial signals of long-term commitment. It tells the market they're serious.
Okay, so wrapping up. We've unpacked how Nikon's acquisition of RID is fundamentally a really significant move. It connects a highly respected, albeit niche, image pipeline to one of the most flexible, modern lens mounts out there.
And the first products, the Z-mount versions of V-Raptor X and Komodo X, they do show thoughtful direction. Global shutter, native Z-mount control, compact bodies. But the foundation seems pretty sound.
But ultimately, success hinges on nailing the execution, doesn't it? All those details that crews feel every single hour on set.
Absolutely. Cinema-ready lenses, reliable accessories that don't get in the way, firmware that solves problems instead of creating them, time-saving workflows, and that direct, respectful dialogue with the actual users, the craftspeople.
If Nikon and RED can deliver all those pieces consistently, they really could establish a credible third force in cinema, maybe blending some of ARI's prestige image quality with the broader market reach of Sony and Canon. It's plausible.
It is a challenging path, but plausible.
So the final thought for you, the filmmaker or Syntech enthusiast listening, if tradition meets progress like this, how do you actually evaluate a new system? What criteria truly put a camera, and maybe more importantly, an ecosystem onto your shortlist when you're deciding what to shoot with next?